What I have asked you to do this time around
Yeah.
is to be a part of obviously my podcast that's Humanity Over Hughes. But this time around I'm doing something called podcastathon, and I just like happened to come across this thing on social media somewhere. It was like, yeah, we're doing this podcast where we're bringing all of these podcasters together for the 15th through I think it's the 21st of March. And so the podcasters, though, are coming together to support nonprofits. And so I thought that was really cool, a really cool concept for us to be able to not just share knowledge, but also touch entities, organizations that are doing great things in their community. And so I thought about you. I know your ladies, your dance company, you're doing a lot of great things. And it touched my heart when we finally reconnected and I saw what you were doing and just improving your community one dance at a time, right? So I thought of you, and I hope you don't mind me asking you to kind of be a part of this and talk to the audience about what is Opera Tutti, right? Like, where did it come from? And just kind of share your heart with us. But before we jump into all of that, first, I'd love for you to tell us who you are and um, and who's this lovely lady sitting next to you as well.
Well, I'm Josie Jeremiah. Um, this is my daughter Lorraine. I graduated West Point in 2002. Um, and then
Bicentennial.
a very, very short military career because I started a family early. And I have six children, Lorraine being the oldest of our family, and I'm kind of a hobby farmer. We're homesteaders, so we're very doing our best to be self-sufficient. And we lived in Texas for 16 years, and now we live in France, doing the same stuff, like raising our own meat, raising vegetables, and so that's where really our association comes in because of our lifestyle choice. We're usually in a very rural area, and then as you know, we're an artistic family, so we have a yearning to dance and to sing and to be on stage and to do all those things that are actually not very often available in the places that we choose to live. Um, and so when we were in Texas, that was when you and I first linked up again in San Antonio. We had started a dance studio just so that our little girls could dance, and then all of a sudden it grew, and really in that area we've moved now, but the rural arts education is huge now. It's easy to find a dance studio there. It's easy to find piano lessons because we kind of um, just by being who we were, the culture there kind of changed a little bit. So that's something we were proud of. And then we came here to France, which is supposed to be like really, we value culture a lot here, and we thought a lot of things would be readily available that because of COVID, because of a lot of stuff, a lot of the schools that were here before, they had closed, and so there was much less opportunity here to do ballet, to go see an opera, to do those kinds of things, and so that's how our association out here just came about, to try to change the culture and try to become part of the community here too.
That's wonderful. So I do have to back you up a little bit. So Texas to France, that's extreme, right? So you gotta kind of walk us through that. So why the decision?
Well, my husband's French, so and we'd been living in America for 16 years, and that was the one thing about COVID. We watched a lot more media, a lot more TV, and we did a lot more internet surfing than we ever had done, and we always had a little bug in our ear, a small desire to come to France, but we always put it off to the side because life was good. We're doing fine where we are. Everything's good. But I think, you do enough Google researches on properties and you watch enough TV shows that after a while you say, well, let's go for it. And I don't know. I think sometimes those voices you push them aside, but I
Mhm.
think every once in a while when you push them aside and they keep going there, you have to pray about it and ask God if it's for
Absolutely.
real. And so I think after a while we realized that calling was for real. And so we packed up, we sold everything we had,
Yeah.
painted up our house, got everything ready. And I mean, we sold our car like 30 minutes before we hopped on the bus to get
Woo.
to get to the hotel. So it was serious. It was like, it was a major exodus. That's what yeah. And
Oh yeah, I remember that. So I'd love to find out from you, Lorraine. What do you remember from that time frame when your parents decided that, hey, we're gonna leave Texas and we're headed to France?
I remember being very excited, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but then being sort of in denial too, because it had been quite a few years that we'd had this idea, and we kept going back and
Mm-hmm.
forth. So, like one week we'd be very wanting to move, starting to get ready, and then the next week, no, everything's fine. We're happy here. We're not gonna move. And so that would reoccur, a lot of times. So, like for the past two of my birthdays, I actually had realtors come on both of my birthdays. So two birthdays in a row, we had a realtor come
poor
to
baby.
put the house for sale that actually never went through. It was reported again. And yeah, so that was a little rough, but we were of course excited, all of us, and yeah, just excited to have a new life, to try new things, and to have a bit of change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. I bet it was exciting but
Yeah.
scary at the same time,
Yeah.
especially with, your age and losing your friends
Yeah.
and, not sure what you're going to, see and experience in the next place. But if you're anything like your mom, then I know that it was more excitement than anything else because she can bloom anywhere that she's planted. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the stuff that you just said as well concerning you wanted to change your community.
Yeah.
So, um, what it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, at least when you were in Texas, it was more about providing opportunity for your girls, right? Because they had such a love and a desire to be in the arts, and there wasn't availability. Now, as you look at your move to France, did that mindset kind of shift? Or was it more of an intention of we're going to change the community, we're going to infuse cohesion, right, and develop this community into a space? So if you could let us know a little bit about that.
So I think, of course, our kids are always first. And so it did start off as having opportunity for the girls, and then we have a long list of babies coming up. So they're going to have those opportunities too. But one thing I did observe, even though it was not my intent, when I started this school in Texas, in a lot of rural areas where we come up, you could the demographic has changed a little bit. But when we were there, we were like the only Black people within about what would we say, about 10-mile radius, if not more.
Okay.
Very, very limited. And the education level of where we were was very very old fashioned, and
Mm,
kind of, I don't know, basic Southern United States
yeah.
kind of behavior. So I think, our family being there and just us, it was always like my goal is to be a good representative of love, but knowing that knowing that, I mean, this is why we're discussing about love over hues and looking beyond people's color. We're still, as Americans, and I guess, in other places, growing up in a society where we're still seeing it. We do our best, but we're still witnessing that. And so, I mean, we had gone to restaurants where we weren't served before. We
In
walked
Texas.
in Texas. We walked into feed stores where we were not served to feed our, feed stores like where you go to buy animal feed. And we just turned around, and we know I'm never gonna beg anybody to take my money.
Absolutely.
I'll find
Look,
some other place.
Shirley Chisholm told us a long time ago, when they don't give you a seat at the table, you bring your own chair,
That's
right?
right.
So I love it. So if you're not going to serve me, why would I beg you
That's
to
right.
spend my money
That's
in
right.
your establishment?
That's
So
right.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's just a setup of, the environment. And of course we made some really precious friends, and things like that. But what made me happy, and what was the surprise, was we started the dance school, but then all of a sudden we're the representatives of people of color to an entire city,
Right.
and that, for me, that was really something important, because you try to share love, you try to represent yourself as a kind person, and as a giving person, as an educated person, an educated family, and little by little, as the demographics change. I remember I had a little girl in my class, Blythe.
Blythe,
Yeah, and, she a little black girl, and she's probably the only kid in her class, the only black girl in her class. And I remember when I was growing up, I'd go see shows or ballets or watching on TV, and anytime I saw anybody um, of anything that's representing me, even anybody different that was doing something, my eyes would just focus on them,
Yeah.
and I'd see myself in them. And so all of a sudden, I was teaching ballet lessons. I had a sweet little girl looking up to me, and I just go in my imagination and think about how would I feel if I had a ballet teacher of color to look up to,
Mm,
and that was special to me. So
no.
no, I think.
Let me ask you this before we get too far. So for a while there, I lived in New Mexico. I
Mhm.
also lived in Miami. So places that, at least in my opinion, and what I even assumed before I got there, that there would be a larger demographic of minority people, right? Specifically Hispanic people, Mexican people, right? People from Venezuela and et cetera, as you look at Miami. One of the things that I noticed during that time frame was that everyone didn't see themselves, though, as being minority,
Mm-mm.
right?
Right.
And there was like this division still, even within these, we'll call it races, right? Even though we know a lot of them are constructs, right? But within these demographics that seem to be more within the majority, right? And so one of the reasons why I created Espresso Unicorn way back 2017, right? It became official here in 2024, but because my daughter was being hmm, she was being discriminated against within those spaces. And specifically in Miami, because her hair was kinky or her skin was a little bit darker and etc. Right. So, and even in the Black community, we talk about colorism. And so, what was your experience in San Antonio, Texas, as it relates to kind of colorism within the demographics of minority people? Did you see that? Did you feel that? Did your kids feel that at all?
Well, I think we protected our
yeah.
children from it a little bit. I think
Mhm.
the only incident you can tell about the princess story, we'll talk about
Oh
that in
yeah.
a second. That's a funny story.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, me and my mom is Mexican, my dad's black. So I grew up with that my whole entire life, even on the inside, I mean, I love my mother, but she's got a little bit of that, those
Yeah.
thoughts. And it's hard to let go of them because a lot of this stuff is, they've been taught so
Ingrained.
much,
Yeah.
ingrained. You even see it, because I love geography and studying, historical psychology. They have those paintings. I forget what they're called, but they have paintings. You look at a triangle. I'll have to look it up. Where the one of the famous ones is a triangle where they actually are categorizing the people, uh, by layers of color. I'll have to look
Mhm.
it up, but
Mhm.
that's it's ingrained in the culture. And yes, indeed, San Antonio, Texas was very, very, very rough, according to that. And unfortunately, uh, it was very difficult. We're Catholics, we go to church, and even though we would try to integrate, there was always some sort of a block. I mean, I would have to, I really pushed hard, I joined the choir, or give
Mhm.
classes, or do something like that. But there was always just this strange feeling. And I think you just move on and you say, oh no, that's just me, or it's just one of
Mhm.
those, because it's a
A
very
consistent
micro.
inward looking. Yeah.
Yeah. Until one time, I had started a group, and one of my girlfriends, who happened to be, she's Hispanic, but a lighter colored Hispanic lady. I mean, I don't look Mexican, so I mean, I'm just, so we're at church, and I remember how many years I had worked and how many things I had done just to be moderately accepted or tolerated. She was brand new and just like really, like, just very, very much welcomed, invited to
Mhm.
things and stuff like that. And that's where you just really, you have to
You,
look,
yeah.
you have to
That
say, okay,
contrast, the difference, right? Yeah.
it's real.
Oh, wow.
It's real.
It is.
And so that was, it was one of those things that, when we were thinking about moving to France, these are kinds of things that we
Considered.
we
Yeah.
considered we considered and thought about. Then you could tell your story about Princess, because
The
it was
princess. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were friends with another family, with many families that homeschooled, but this
Mhm.
one family in particular. One time we were at their house and we were playing princesses, and I don't think I was there at this point of time, but my sister was there, and she was playing with a friend, and at one point,
because it was a bunch of
yeah, a
kids
bunch of
invited.
kids,
Yeah.
yeah. And at one point, they were like, "Well, you be the princess, and or we'll be the princesses, but you can't be a princess, Gabby, to my little sister, because I don't know if they said because you're black. They
No,
just
but they just
she's
said
like,
you can be the
you can be the
slave.
slave. You can't be the princess, but you can be the slave, basically." And
I didn't
yeah,
know this. I was sitting having coffee
and
with
I
the other
yeah
moms. I had no clue. And
Right.
so a week later, the
yeah.
girls decided to tell me this.
And I was with the
But
older girls. I don't
yeah,
think I was there. I was with the
but
older
then
ones.
but then instead of coming to me, Gabby went to Lorraine. And
Yeah.
Lorraine went in there and she said, no, we're all princesses.
Yeah.
We're gonna all be princesses.
Good. Good, Lorraine. But you know what? What's so interesting about that is, and I'm guessing these kids were what, between 3 to 5 or something. They were pretty young, right?
I would say
Seven
seven.
or eight.
7 or 8.
About
Yeah,
Yeah.
7.
7 or 8.
But still very impressionable, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of what they're taking in is either one, what the parents are saying, or
Yeah.
two, what they're seeing on the TV. So that goes back to what you were saying, Josie. Every time you saw someone that looked like you, right? Like you saw yourself in them. And so the same is true as we look at the majority. So as they're looking at this propaganda, because that's what it is on the TV, and it's reinforcing what you believe is true. And so, and we like to say in the engineer world, if you know a certain thing of that equation, you can figure out the other side of that equation. So if you don't see these other things, then automatically what does our mind do? It fills in the gap and says, well, it can't be this because this is what is being shown to me as being true,
Yeah.
right? So the only other option is you are the slave, right? If that's the way that your simplistic mind, and 7 years old, you're simplistic, right? That's the only way that you can make sense of it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then
Wow. I'm
I
so
ended up
sorry.
being the little girl's ballet teacher. So I got to teach her how to be a princess. So
Oh,
this is
wow.
where things, get better because I don't think that these little girls think
No,
that way
no.
No,
anymore,
no.
and that's where, it's almost like
It's just a reinforcement.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and
Okay. So we're going to keep moving, right? Because I really want to get to what you're doing now. Like I love this conversation because we know it's true. And it's the backbone of why you all are doing what you're doing and doing it in France. So now let's fast forward. You're in
right.
France
So now we're in France.
and yes, talk
So
to us.
we get here, we had no clue of the demographic. We didn't know
Yeah.
anything, got it blind. But our demographic here is really interesting because it's an old, you know, farming community. So generations of generations of generations living here that have been here forever. On the other hand, we have a lot of people that have settled here from the United States, from England, from Australia, New Zealand, just South Africa.
Why
It's
that community? Why such a diverse rural community?
honestly, I'm going to say it's the price of the properties because this is a very
Makes sense.
affordable place to live. And so I just think a lot of people that decide to retire in another country were just drawn
Hmm.
here for that reason. The weather's great. Um, it's a little
Everybody's
cold,
looking for good
in
weather.
the winter, but once the spring comes and it's sunny and it's
Yeah.
lovely, it's great. So anyway, this is just a humongous melting pot. And then we even have a refugee community because a lot of people have they sponsor refugees, and so
Hmm.
it's just very very multicultural bouillabaisse of a
Hmm.
place.
And generational, I'm guessing.
And yes, and generational,
Multi-generational. Hmm.
multi-generational. So we started taking the kids, to ballet because there are things that are close enough but far away, um
Hmm.
but truly,
15 minutes
yeah,
away,
about
yeah.
15 minutes away. But
So
we're in Europe and gas is expensive. And
Mm.
um and then also Gabby is very she wanted to have a place to dance more, to practice closer to home, because
Okay.
that's when you get in that serious way of thinking about things, you want to be able to practice as much as possible. But we found out that we couldn't have a space to rent. And we learned when we were calling about, because there's beautiful dance space here, beautiful performance space.
Hmm.
And they said, well, it's free if you are an association, which here is a nonprofit group. And I
Nonprofit.
think associations can be for profit too. But
Hmm.
so I had, my French was limited. I had no clue, but we just, I really believe in just feeling like God has a vision for me, and just looking at opportunities and following
Yeah.
them. And so we became an association. We had no clue really what we were going to do. But we just went for it, and we started by offering free dance classes. And I had no clue what age group was going to come. I just opened the
Just
doors.
opened your doors.
That's right. And
Yeah.
uh, and so we opened the doors, and we had a bouillabaisse of people that showed up. We had our oldest dancer, our oldest dancer was 80 years old. Our youngest dancer was 7. And so we just little by little had our dance class, and decided to put on a show, and
How long ago was that
this was a year
when you
ago.
first? A year ago.
A year ago. So we put on this show, and what we found out is that this is really unique because even though I say it's a bouillabaisse, a lot of these groups of people, um, they don't cross. Like we do have a community of English speakers that make a lot of they make a lot of effort to speak French, but they're
Hmm.
still very shy to speak French, and they stay within their community. So they stay
Hmm.
within their community.
Comfort. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have the generational groups that have been here forever. And they've got grandma, grandpa, cousins, nephews, brothers, sisters, in-laws.
Yeah.
They really don't have many reasons to
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 branch
step
out.
out, to branch out.
They have their support.
That's right. But all of a sudden, we have people coming from these groups too, and then people from within France even that are here retiring. And so you see people, that was the beautiful surprise. You see people that just in no other way would they be standing next to each other, like, but all of a sudden they're hanging out, giving high fives, we're all putting on butterfly wings and running around the stage, and it's one of those miracles that happens when
Yeah.
you have a project so full of love. And so that
Yeah.
was good. And so
You
we did.
know, one of the things that I've always felt is that the arts, specifically dance and music, it is a universal language that brings people together and just feels joy
Yeah.
within the room, So what a blessing to be able to start something like that and then to see the intersections, right, of humanity come together and blossom within your space.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So since you've done that, because normally what happens when you bring people together and, unassuming and they figure out that they're not too far apart from each other, then they start developing other things themselves, whether it be close friendships, whether it be they start working together, whatever it may be. Have you seen any of that kind of come out of your work there in the dance studio?
Yeah, we have seen that. People, you see them hanging out on the street that they wouldn't hang out. And we have the market, we have the marché, and so I think that what it does for the people that are new here is that it gives them a sense of home. And they have been branching out to do things. We started another project, Ballet Adore. That's the one I had told you about, to
Hmm.
try to have a ballet company and try to reestablish ballet here. And
Hmm.
without me knowing, they came together. They're very, very supportive of selling tickets. Like really, really, like I shaking. They work as a team, and there's a lot of things, especially this year. I was really tasked out, and I had assigned people. So one of my dancers, she didn't want to dance this year, but I told she used to be an exec in a big company in England. I said, how about you be our director? And she
Nice.
directed her behind off. And yeah, they worked together because it was almost like being in the military again, because everybody had their job.
One opposed.
Oh yeah, they took ownership of it. And my girlfriend, even she even made my heels click sometimes when she was she was the boss. She was the boss. You better be there when the curtain opens, or you're gonna get it. No, so you can comment if
Yeah, and then I have a friend too, that actually was working. She's 22, and she got a job working at a grocery store. But it was a grocery store that had just opened, and they had hired way too many people. So they ended up firing a lot of these young people that they hired. And unfortunately, she was one of them. But in this time, my dad had met her.
They were
Yeah.
invited. It was a new store. So Phil, since he's the president of the association, we were
Mhm.
invited for the grand opening of the store.
Of the story.
So yeah, so Philippe, he introduced himself to everybody. He's not afraid.
No.
He's very, very bold. So he just, and he's just
Goes up to people.
I'm president
and-
of Opera Tutti, and
That's
tells
what your
them
dad
about
is.
everything that we do. And so he met this young girl and invited her. And she's like, I love to sing, I love to dance. And so she came, and unfortunately, like Lorraine said, she had lost her job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
we became really good friends because she's also English. So we both spoke English, And over time, dancing together and all that, we became friends. And I told her about the training program that I had done, the apprenticeship, to become a sports teacher. Because she's also, like sports and all this. So she actually did the same exact thing that I did. So that's what she's doing right now, and she's loving it, and it gives her, a job and also
an opportunity.
an opportunity to grow.
Because the degrees here are very, very, very specific. Like you have to you
choose.
You have to choose
Yeah.
a very narrow path. And so what Lorraine had gotten was called the BPJEPS, which
APT, Activité Physique pour tous. So it's sports for everybody.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I have no idea what you said, but that was beautiful.
Yeah, so it's it qualifies you to teach people really like from babies to all the way to convalescing, in retirement homes, and you can teach them all activities. So you see, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and it's a venue to open your own business if you want to. It's an excellent opportunity. So it's like one of those things. Every time there's a door closed, there's another one open. And if Philippe wouldn't have been so bold, introducing himself to the whole entire world, she wouldn't have come and met Lorraine and have this opportunity. So it's just a good way for people to network, really, and to have an opportunity to reach their fullest potential while they're here.
So the name that I kind of labeled this podcast before I even talked to you about it, right, is building community through dance, right? And everything that I've heard you both say, that's exactly what you're doing. You are building community. You are breaking down stereotypes. You are bringing people together to not just provide them a support system, but also the networking to do and to see and realize their dreams, right? And that is just phenomenal. And especially you're doing it in France, right? So I think that's just awesome. And so let me ask you this. So as we look at the nonprofit that you're running, so two questions come to mind. If somebody else wanted to do somewhat of the same thing, what are, I'll say, your top two things that you would recommend that they do, right? And or maybe consider before they decide to go that route. And then the next thing is how can others support you?
Well, I think the thing that I wish I would have studied just a little bit more about how it's good to take a little time to look at the community around you, um, and especially the leadership. We were very, very lucky. We had an excellent mayor. He was very, very welcoming. But something that we were not aware of is just that there's a lot of admin to learn.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of things here administratively that I don't want to say they're kept a secret, but you find things
Transparent.
out. Yes. And so it would be best. I don't regret what we did. We went about with the project. We put our own money into it. We said we're putting on a show. We put on a show, and I'm happy. It was good. But later we found out that we could have applied for some help from the village. Now I don't know if we would have gotten it, but it was available, and people are not going to tell you that. you have to dig it up and find out. And this is at a local level. Um,
Yeah.
and so for us, I think what I see Lorraine is doing, Lorraine is very involved in the community. Like her job that she had, her apprenticeship put her in some of the very visible parts of our village. And so she has a level of trust and a level of respect in the community, that will help her in the future. And for us, we've gained that trust and we've gained that respect. But when we first started, no,
They didn't know you.
no,
That's right. Yeah.
so I mean, people were just very, uh, what in the world are they doing? This is, different. And so it was one of those things. The mayor loved us. He was really supportive, but we were just, some people from somewhere else, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden they've got access.
Outsiders still,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, so I think if I could rewind, I would study the community, study, who the visible people are, get to know them, and gain a little bit
Hmm.
more trust and networking and things, and then blossom out,
Okay.
um, and then how can we be helped? Really, if anybody out there is listening and in southern France, it would be great to come see a show, um, and come visit with us. We'd love to see them. And financially, we are doing a lot of free programs right now, because that's part of the goal, is to make sure that anybody that wants to participate can. And so we want to maintain that. Um, but right now we also want to branch out to offer classes, to offer ballet classes and tap classes, to the people that are interested in that, because it's something that's not available here. It's fun. And so we need to have money to pay for teachers. And so that's
Yes.
so that's really what we're looking for. And any kind of donations, are welcome for that.
Is there, and you don't have to share this if you don't want to, but is there an amount that you're looking to raise within the next quarter or
Yeah.
whatever that timeline is? If you can give me that for the amount and when you need it to be able to hit whatever goal it is that you're looking to hit right now.
So our goal this year is to be able to hire 2 teachers. And so we want to be able to hire these two teachers. We would need about 2,000 per teacher per year, and that would help them to teach about an hour a week, 2 hours a week. And that's what we're working on raising right now.
Okay. That is awesome. Goodness, I wish I knew how to talk. But anyways, how do people find you? Are you on social media? Like, where can
Yeah.
they follow Opera Tutti or, hold up, let me make sure I don't get this wrong, Ballet Adore.
That's right. So Opera Tutti, yes, please. On Facebook to like us. It's just Opera Tutti, OPERATUTTI. And it's in mobile gay. So if you search that, you should be able to find us. Our email is Opera Tutti, same thing, 65. Point period dot in English it's a dot Opera Tutti 65 dot at gmail.com. It's different in French than it is in English. I can
You
say.
got it. So what we'll do, we'll make sure that that information is actually on the podcast when we push it out. So it'll be in the description so people can find you, okay? No worries.
No, point gmail,
Yeah,
point gmail, arrobas.
Awesome. Well, it has been a joy talking to both of you ladies today. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Thank you for allowing God to use you. And thank you for changing people's lives because that's really what you're doing right now. So, on behalf of Espresso Unicorn, myself, Dr. Andrea Peters, the CEO and founder of Espresso Unicorn, it was great to have you on our podcast, which is Humanity Over Hughes. You can find us on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us. But we are so blessed to have such wonderful guests like Josie and Lorena, and we will continue to bring you such, I think, phenomenal content. So make sure that you do follow us on Spotify and you continue to support our community that we're building as well. All right, take care. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.